Hey, good afternoon, everybody. KB5MIQ, big boy. Going to talk a little bit this afternoon about a topic I saw come up on one of the social media pages. And we're going to talk about proper lingo to use on ham radio. I saw a guy post, probably a new ham, and said he's in a local 2 meter round table one night and he answered a question with 10-4 and got roasted for using 10 codes in ham radio. Well, I can see where that would happen, but let's talk a few things about where that come from and my version on what's proper language to use on amateur radio. All right, I'm an old CBer from high school days, and everybody knew 10 codes were predominantly used as CBs and CB lingo. Break 1-9, and how about you, and Smokey Bear and put the hammer down and catch on the flip side, all this lingo that CBers come up with. All right. And if you listen to a CB today, you still hear a lot of that. And that's fine. I'm not knocking that. I used a lot of that when I was a CBer. All right. Well, 80s I joined the military, and I also was a reserve and joined the fire department. Well, you got two different types of radio communications going on there. Military radio communications. Military radio communications are clear, concise, to the point. Nothing supposed to be chit chat, dilly dally on there. You do not use 10 codes in the military. Use words like affirmative, negative, say again your last, which means repeat your last transmission. And that was one of the biggest things that was always hammered into me, especially being in a combat unit, training in a combat unit. I never went to combat, but I trained in a combat unit in the Cold War. Was the fact, hey, ham radio cat, Aaron, old buddy, my number one fan, here he is on ham radio cat's back. Getting back to say again your last transmission, that's the way that if you don't understand something, you tell them to say again your last transmission or say again all after a certain point in the transmission. But you never tell them to repeat your last transmission, because repeat is an artillery command, and they're always afraid that if somebody on another frequency or skip or harmonics or something, and they hear you say, and you say repeat your last transmission, they might hear it as repeat fire mission and fire again when they're not supposed to. So military lingo, totally different, clear, concise, to the point, no 10 codes. Public service, fire and police, still clear, concise, to the point, but they use 10 codes. 10 codes are predominantly used in those, and you kind of have to know some of them. I don't know them well as I used to, but I did know a good many of them years past from their handling communication on the fire department. Well, now comes ham radio. All right. When I first got my novice ticket in 91, I used the Gordon West study books. And one of the paragraphs in the study of that book, I remember saying, 10 codes are never used in amateur radio. And they're not. It's not an FCC rule, I don't think, that you can't use a 10 code on there, but it's just not used in amateur radio. All you have to do in amateur radio is just speak English. I mean, just use your North. That sounds wrong to say it like that because I hear Spanish speaking stations all the time. Speak in normal terms. Let me rephrase that and say in English. Speak in normal terms. You don't have to talk like a CBer. You don't have to talk like you're in the military. Just talk. It's just real simple. And you'll pick it all up real easy. It's just like when me calling CQ the other day on that other video. I just get on there. We're back up here, man. I'm getting sidetracked. It's the second time I've made this video because I forgot something. Q codes. Q codes were designed during the CW days to shorten CW transmissions. They're really not supposed to be used on phone. No law says you can't use them. People use them all the time. And I used to say the phrase QRZ is a frequency in use. And I've heard every ham all my life do that until I did it in one of these videos and I got corrected that you're not supposed to do that. Come on, buddy. Anyway, are you breaking a rule? No, but you'll be noticed for doing it. So now what I do is I go, hello, is a frequency in use. Wait about a minute, minute and a half. Nobody answers me, then I'll make my CQ call. Now, y'all may have heard me the other day, the best way to make your call sign understood is through the proper phonetic alphabet. Except in my case, my call's KB5MIQ. I've had it since I was a novice. I don't want to change it. I thought about getting a vanity call sign, something easier to pronounce, but I don't want to fool with that. But if I say it Kilo Bravo 5, Mike, India, Quebec, a lot of times DX station don't ever get it right the first time. It's probably a lot to do with this Northeast Texas drawl I've got. Most times it seems like I've had more than once say India, Quebec. Now I have found if I send my call out Kilowatt, Bravo 5, Mexico, India, Quebec, I'm getting a lot better chances of getting my call right the first time. And that's not on weak signal work, that's on any of them. So that's why I do mine that way. And somebody may chastise me one day for improper use of phonetic alphabet. In fact, I think I have. I think the 4-call beacon guy on 28425 said something to me one day about it, and I answered him back rather abruptly. He didn't say nothing else about it, but either way, that's just ham radio. But new guys, if you say 10-4 and somebody jumps on you about it, just let it roll off your sleeve and go on. Try to get out of the habit of using 10 codes, but you're not breaking a rule by doing that. The best thing is just get on there and use your normal language, just like you're talking to anybody else. And you'll pick up the shortcuts and the easier ways to make calls the longer you're in this hobby. It's nothing to it. Now, the term 73 that we all sign off with, that's just wishing your other person good wishes. And that comes from what I've read, and somebody feel free to correct me, from the old CW days, telegraph days, where 73 Winchester rifle was a very popular rifle, and a lot of these guys would sign off with, I will you my 73 or something like that, and it got shortened to 73. So that's where it comes from. But get on there, just use your normal talking, and if you slip up, you slip up. That ain't no problem. There's no law says you can't use 10 codes. It's not the ham radio way of doing things. And it would be a lot nicer if the person that wanted to correct that guy had either been able to get him on a simplex frequency and tell him, or just say very nicely, hey man, 10 codes aren't normally used in ham radio. You might want to think about just saying yes or no. Just say it nicely. But I'm pretty sure the band police jumped right down his throat on the radio, and that don't do anybody any good. All that does is might run a guy off from this hobby real easily if you do something like that. And we don't need to lose more people in this hobby. 10 meters is opening back up, and I'd love to see these guys get on 10, because that's what got me hooked on this hobby. Is I got lucky. I got into it during the last of the big sunspot cycle in the early 90s. And man, it was a blast on 10, even for a novice. My old radio, y'all know the reason I didn't upgrade until they dropped the code. But my old radio, I swore the VFO was wore out from 28.3 to 28.5, and that's where that thing stayed. And I was always making contacts. In fact, the majority of these contacts on the wall come from them days. So anyway, main thing, get on here, enjoy the hobby, just use your normal talking. If you're really concerned about saying the right thing, fire your rig up and listen. A weekend where there's more people on the air is a good way to listen to Converse QSOs. If there's contests going on, you hear contesters, or go to the Parks on the Air website, POTA, and look up POTA spots, And it will give you frequencies and operating modes that are operating, and there's usually somebody always calling them POTA activations. And you can hear contacts there and get the feel of how people are talking on the radio. But the main thing is get on here. Try to leave CB lingo and CB lingo, military lingo and military lingo, public service and fire lingo and public service and fire, and ham radio. That's just the way it is. Appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. We hit 278. Pick up a few at every one of these videos, and I really appreciate it. W5DLX, WD5HKV, and myself they give me ideas for these videos because we like promoting this hobby, trying to help new hams out, especially those hams on a budget. Be sure and use some good guy rope on your antennas. I've been lucky here. I've got a 2-element Moxon up almost 50 feet, guide with 3/8 Dacron rope, and we had some bad storms come through here yesterday and uprooted a lot of trees, out of power for about 15 hours. So my antennas made it through it, so I'm glad about that. This coming Saturday, May the 8th, should be the final second Saturday sidewalk sale for Main Trading Company in Paris, unless they decide to keep doing it. Good outfit. Ham store in Paris, Texas. If you're close enough to drive up there, I know COVID's had all the ham stuff shut down for dang near 2 years, so it's good to get out, look at the junk. Main Trading's got a good inventory of stuff there. Cable, fittings, radios, they got everything from PL259s to radios. So, good thing to check them out. If you local hams or new hams, if you live in an area big enough to have a ham club, look on Facebook, find their page. I know here we got 4 States Amateur Radio Club out of Texarkana, Dallas Amateur Radio out of Dallas, Cowtown Amateur Radio Club out of Fort Worth, Shreveport Amateur Radio out of Shreveport, Louisiana. They got good Facebook pages, good information on them. Ham Radio Flea Market Trading Post, Amateur Radio Elmer's, Ham Radio for Newbies, all good ham radio groups out there. So, on social media. Like I said, you can email me. My call sign's KB5MIQ. My email's posted on my QRZ page. Just try to put something in the header, in the subject matter, call sign or ham video or something, because I get a lot of commercial email that I don't want to miss somebody's email. Or leave me a comment here on YouTube. I'll try to answer everybody's comment and email I can. I really appreciate y'all doing that. I want to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel. Hope everybody has a great week. And keep working on these radios. And you new guys, get on the low band as soon as you can. This is KB5MIQ, Big Boy, 73.